Okay, thank you very much for joining us here today. I'm joined by my colleague Carol Springer, who's the Sales and Marketing Director at Gabriel Sales. Carol, thank you very much for joining us. How are you today?
Great. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, good. Good. We're going to talk about content marketing and why it's valuable, why it's necessary, and how to really truly become a publisher and develop the content that's going to generate leads and new business for you. So with that, let's jump right in. Carol, take it away.
Okay, great. So first, before we get started, we'll find out what define what content marketing is. I'm sure everyone has heard content marketing is very prevalent today, and content is king. And I just pulled this from Wikipedia. Content marketing is pretty much any marketing that's going to help you to acquire new customers for lead generation, and it's sharing content basically. And this can be content in various different formats, whether it's an article, it's a video, a white paper, a blog, your tweets, whatever. And the important thing to know about content marketing, it's not focused on selling. It's not saying, hey, we're so great. Here's our latest, gadget, and here's how we're going to help you so much. But it's really to try to build relationships with your prospects out there and demonstrate that you are the thought leader, and that you are on top of everything and you really know what's best in this market. And then, kind of why we need content marketing in the sales process is really because content is everywhere and people are now relying on it. Buyers are looking for referrals on social networking. They look to verify, maybe once they found you or you found them, they're going to see what you're saying on social media and if anyone else recommends you. And also they're spending much more time on their mobile devices. People are reading articles while they're waiting for the bus or sitting on the bus or waiting to pick up their kids from school whenever they get a minute. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about, the types of content, and having short, quick, concise messages to get in front of people is very useful. And this is just some information to back up why this is so critical. In B2B sales, we're finding that 14.7 different pieces of content are being consumed by the buyer before they make their purchasing decision. This was in 2012, and we expect that to increase by 50% in 2013. And they are looking at all different types of content. Primarily still, Google searches are #1, or other website searches. Looking at peer referrals, reading blogs. Social networking, I think it's actually probably going to jump up a lot. And LinkedIn, I know, is just exploding. I hear tons of people finding the majority of their leads now on LinkedIn in the B2B space. And let's see, what else is going to say about that? And then search engine optimization, and also in creating your content so people can find you, you need to make sure what you're writing about contains your keywords. That's very critical.
Yeah, let's just take a moment to talk a little bit about the SEO implications, because I think it's one of the things that gets overlooked in terms of how Google in particular is ranking content these days. Because it used to be, really that it was, there was a lot of focus on the the traditional title tags and the certain keyword density, inside of the articles, and to a degree those things are still true. But to the degree that that information is being shared and passed along through social networks and commented on, those are the new factors truly that Google is using to rank a page over the other. Some SEO specialists will tell you nowadays to just forget about SEO altogether and just start writing great content and distributing it through your networks.
Perfect. Cool. And as you know, there's so much different types of content out there. There's just basic collateral, maybe some data sheets. There's webcasts, podcasts, direct marketing. That's what DM is. Email direct marketing, e-zines. Those are probably fading away a little bit. Search engine marketing, SEO, which we just talked about. Also case studies and testimonials. Testimonials are really very powerful, and we actually predict that in probably about 10 years, testimonials, your customer is going to be doing most of your selling for you. And if you can get video testimonials or written testimonials, that is going to be key. And so where to start can really be kind of overwhelming, especially if you're new to this. content marketing can really help you in various stages in the sales cycle. So it really depends on what your objective is. If you're trying to generate leads, there's certain things you need to do. If you have tons, we get a lot of clients coming to us all the time, I want more leads, more leads, more leads, but I have a database of 20,000 people. I'm like, you don't need more leads. You need to nurture these leads and try to convert them, and we can help you with that. Or if you have leads and maybe it's just you're in such a competitive market that you get a lot of proposals out, but you just don't close the deal, you need to do something to convince these people that you're the one that they should go with. And so there's a lot, plenty to learn. And it also really depends on what your product is like. If you have more of a commodity type product, it's more important that you do a lot more marketing, probably less one-to-one targeting, because it's just so broad who can go after, and you can just spend thousands of dollars marketing to the wrong people. You probably want to focus more on search engine optimization so people can come to you, more of a pull marketing. And then if your product is more niche, then you want to really try to focus more on what we call one-to-one marketing, targeting people specifically on LinkedIn, maybe making phone calls. So really kind of depends on what stage of sales cycle you're at and how niched your product is.
Mm-hmm. Carol, question for you. In terms of lead recycling and what I'm calling sustainable marketing practices these days, is that a pretty big emphasis with some of the clients you're working with?
Can you explain that a little bit more? I don't quite understand.
Well, maybe the question is, are you pushing lead recycling in terms, with your clients in terms of, once a prospect makes it through the sales funnel and maybe does not turn into an opportunity, what happens to it from that point? Is that something that you're, working with your clients to?
Big yes.
With laughter.
There's a couple different clients. So one client I have, they're in the real estate industry, and typically what has happened, the lead comes in, they're not ready to buy in 6 months, boom, they just go into unqualified queue, and no one has touched them. And then we implemented a marketing automation program, so then now these people get these educational emails about once every 6 weeks, and then also kind of kindly let them know, hey, there's a tour coming on, or you want to talk to someone. And every time we send those out, we bubble up about, probably 50 to 100 new fresh leads, but they're actually just recycled leads. And then we talk to them again. We have a more junior person contacting those people on the phone, find out when they are actually ready to make a move. And a lot of people, it's been 18 months since they first contacted the company, and they would have just totally slipped through the cracks. But now the marketing automation is doing a lot of work for them, and that so that is also kind of a relatively new technology and process that people are going through. But the market adoption is starting to grow. I'd say I've heard anywhere it's at 15% marketing adoption. I heard as high as 35%.
Certainly, yeah. Well, so with regard to lead, just the recycling aspect of this, should really resonate with marketers out there in terms of our mindset of maybe this misalignment of the marketing and sales function, where marketing works to generate these leads and then they toss them over the fence to sales, and maybe because of a lack of connection or a lack of a shared database, they're not mutually staying on top of these prospects. And so when you add some element of automation into that, and when you add an element of better communication between those two departments, you have the opportunity to capitalize on these people who have already identified themselves early in the process as a viable prospect, and for one reason or the other, they don't choose you. Now we're talking about how that saves money for the organization based on all the effort that you put into generating that lead. And so, do you toss it away, or do you find some way to bring them back into the fold and see if you can actually turn them into a prospect over time? So,
right.
I digress. I'll let you continue on.
No, that's a very good point. I'm just thinking about how much money this particular client that I work with has saved on their Google AdWords because of marketing automation, and now they're recycling the leads. Now they've cut their Google AdWords spend like in half. So it definitely makes sense. And then this last slide that I have, and then Ryan's going to talk to you a little bit more about how to know what to write about specifically, is in when you're starting to think about this, what to write about, as I said, depends on what stage of the sales cycle you're in. If you're looking to acquire new customers, so MQL means marketing qualified leads. Those are just leads that you're going to start sending information to. If you want to start converting those to prospects, you just need to educate them generally on your market. And once they're looking to actually evaluate alternatives, you have to have different kind of content. And then once you're looking to close deals, I kind of touched on this before already, then you need to kind of push people over the edge by using testimonials and making sure that your tweets are, relevant to your industry that you're targeting. Don't be talking about what you ate at, at the hot dog stand last night. People don't want to know about that when they're trying to, buy real estate or, close a multi-million-dollar deal. So I think that's pretty, and then the other thing that I just want to point out is once you have these different types of content and you put them into different buckets, you can start to evaluate what people are looking at and then scoring your prospects. And that's kind of a whole other conversation that goes along with marketing automation. But that really makes marketing become very automated and can give marketing a sales quota, whether some people like that or not. CFOs definitely like that, for sure. To prove that marketing actually works, there's always a battle between sales and marketing. So this can kind of really give marketers a lot of credibility. And so I think Brian, you're going to kind of go more into about how to get started and what to write about. And
yeah, well, I actually kind of want to just kind of touch on something that you had mentioned earlier about building relationships, and thought leadership through this process. So. Really your primary objective is to personalize your content. So essentially you do that by evaluating the needs of your audience. And we look at and this is one of the first steps I take with my clients. Is we flesh out the audience themselves, and so we might be talking to decision makers in the organization in the C-suite, but we might also be talking to manager and director level folks. And so just based on their, who they are and their role in the organization, the communication and their needs for information might be different. So we're looking at the attributes of that individual, but we're also looking at and asking questions about where they are in their buying cycle and what type of behavior is going to indicate where they might be, what their needs are. So, if somebody, I think you had mentioned earlier just about, finding somebody in IT, who you're looking to outsource. If you think about the top of the funnel and the point at which somebody makes the decision to start seeking out an IT person, you have to ask yourself the question, well, why? So, is it because they were unhappy with the service that they had previously? Is it because they're a growing organization and have increasing IT needs and have and plan to continue to grow, so need something scalable? And that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of starting to break down what their needs are based on who they are as a decision maker and where they are in their buying cycle. And so, developing content, and then as we kind of mentioned there, lead scoring and just analysis of content is going to help you answer those questions. So it's all about being compelling and educational and writing content applicable to their buying cycle. Generally speaking, I think, Carol, you had mentioned this as well, is just, being light on product features and benefits, and that's kind of a real traditional writing style that you still see everywhere. People talking about, here's our software product and all of the various features. But, really what a buyer wants to know is, okay, tell me about the features and the benefits, but how is that applied to my situation, and how has that produced results for your customers in the past? I want to know how that feature changes and betters, improves my situation. So high value content, and readers need to walk away feeling like they've learned something or it's changed their thinking. Be the subject matter authority and bring a new angle, or demonstrate how you can, how you see different things, or rather you see things differently to benefit the client or customer. So.
Yeah, and Ryan, so how would you suggest that people find the time? I mean, are people going to expect to spend 10 hours a week writing now? What's your solution for that? I have several recommendations.
Yeah, I think we build up this mentality of I don't have a story to tell, or I'm just far too busy to do any writing and developing content. But as marketing automation and SEO, in particular, as I mentioned earlier, continue to evolve, the publishers and the content writers are the ones that will have the upper hand. And so that just emphasizes the point of why it's necessary to write content. So let's get that out of the way. In terms of creating new content, take a look at what you've already produced. I call that a content audit, and determining what's relevant and what can be reused, recycled. You can take a video that you produced 18 months ago and turn it into a series of articles. You can turn it into a PowerPoint presentation. As Carol had listed at the top of our conversation here, content is all of those things. It's tweets, it's LinkedIn updates, it's articles and blogs, it's long-form white papers and videos. So, we're not just thinking in terms of article writing and the like. Another suggestion is being a commentator or doing some kind of commentary where you take a timely piece of information, whether it's industry related, recent news about legislation that has some impact in your industry, and write a short blog post with your take, your angle and how you see the circumstances and how you believe it's going to impact your prospect, and then link over to the full article that you've referenced. And so that's kind of a quick way to get some content out and get your thought process out as well, and help convey that to your prospects. But at the same time, you might be paying a little bit of lip service to someone in your industry who is not a direct competitor, but somebody, that can then help influence your blog posts in the future. And maybe you find that through this process, you develop some relationships with other bloggers and people creating content, again, that are not direct competitors, but are happy to reference you in an article as well, and start to build some of that credibility through your network. So that leads me to another way to get some additional content posted, and you can leverage guest posting, which is the concept of just having somebody who has something to bring to the table and is relevant to your prospects. Again, that's not a direct competitor, but somebody that can help provide that information. And the reason that somebody would provide a guest post is for the same reason that you want to create your own unique content. And that's to get that distributed through a network of websites and social media and get picked up by the search engines and so forth. Check out myblogguest.com by Ann Smarty, the marketing strategist. That's one place that you can go to find people who are interested in guest posting and posting people's articles on their site as well. So an opportunity for you to be a guest poster. But also just go out there and take a look at all of the other people who are relevant in your industry, and just begin to connect with them on through the various social media channels, in particular LinkedIn, and make those connections and get the conversation started. And I think then you'll be able to leverage that opportunity. And then finally, another quick way to get started is outsource it to an external agency. Wink, wink. There are some challenges with that in terms of finding somebody that understands your business and your industry in the way that you do. But if you're able to offer them some type of we had talked a little bit about the audit, the content audit, and old content that you've utilized, and have them rewrite a series of articles based on the presentation that you gave or a video that you produced. So I think on that note, that's the bulk of what I wanted to convey about the importance of content marketing, and why really at this point I look at it as you don't have a choice. You need to be creating content. So I'll leave you with that note. And Carol, did you have any closing thoughts?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, great sum up.
Good deal. Well, thanks everybody. And Kim, good to have you. Thanks very much for the lighthearted and very informative conversation. And we look forward to chatting with you again next time. Thank you.
Take care.